Whoa! That form of transportation is amazing. You should give that a shot. Well, ho ho ho, and a very Merry Christmas if you celebrate it. Today on the I'm Out of Breath Says podcast, it is the annual My Favorite Media of the Year. So let's go ahead and get into it. Goodness gracious, please just ignore the fact that I am this out of breath. Apparently that mode of transportation takes a lot out of you, and it takes a while to recover the oxygen that is necessary in your blood for your brain to function properly. I want to start this episode by answering a question that I asked myself before recording it. Why? Why am I making this episode? Why do I do these annual, this is my favorite media of the year? Yes, it is a little bit self-indulgent. I like going back and reliving what I enjoyed over the year. But then I thought more about it. Why am I sharing it? Why should anybody care? I'm just shedding light on stuff that I did enjoy, stuff that I got value out of, stuff that I may have learned from, and hopefully that will expose you to something that you haven't heard of before, and maybe you'll find some new art, some new music, some new movies, some new YouTubers, some new podcasters that you might get value out of as well. So that is the answer I came up with to justify me making this episode. I just went to throw the first card and I almost threw all of them. I'm turning into a Chevy Chase physical comedy here. Let's start with my favorite YouTubers of 2023. The most obvious selection is all of the audio gear YouTubers, all of the audio channels. If you don't know who I am referencing, go over to Podcastage, youtube.com/podcastage, and then there is a recommended channel section, a get a second opinion section. Those are all the audio content creators that I really enjoy. I haven't updated it recently, so there's probably some that I have watched that are not over there. But that is a great jumping off point. You should not rely on a single audio gear YouTuber to determine if something is a good purchase. Always get multiple opinions. Always listen to as many samples as you can. And that list over there, in my opinion, is a great jumping off point. But I want to draw attention to a few channels in particular. I'm still out of breath. Number one is Audio Haze, Ricky. When he started his YouTube channel, I believe he wanted to do educational content. Then he started doing some mic coverage. I talked to him about audio gear reviews, and then he did a lot of gear reviews. He got a few thousand subs, and he got a really loyal audience. But he wasn't really happy doing that. He didn't like doing reviews. And this year, he took a break, learned some After Effects, I think it was, and just said, heck this, I'm doing what I find fulfilling. And he has been doing these audio essays, these essays about audio and music and production. I think he calls them forensic files, forensic production, something like that. And they are just fantastic. It is so cool to see somebody like that find something that they are so good at and succeed so quick. It's incredible. So congratulations, Ricky. Really great stuff. If you don't follow Audio Haze, go check it out because I don't think I have seen any other YouTuber cover audio in that way, cover production in that way. Well worth a subscription and well worth the view. Next up, Edward the Sound Guy. There is somebody on Twitter called Edward the Sound Guy. I verified with the individual I am talking about. That is not them. Edward the Sound Guy on YouTube. I will put a link in the episode notes and description. If you are a part of the Podcastage Discord server, chances are you have encountered Edward. He may be one of the most helpful people to ever be on this planet. He is so generous with his time, with his knowledge. He is a wealth of knowledge. He is just incredible. The man is a legend. A couple years ago, or maybe a year ago, he launched his own channel and he started uploading a few tutorials here and there about Audacity, Room EQ Wizard, and some other stuff as well. I have gone to his channel 5 or 6 times to watch the Room EQ Wizard tutorial because it is so well done, so well formatted, and so easy to follow. I can not use Rue for a couple of months, jump back there, say, okay, I just need a refresher. Good, got it. And then be back up and running. So Edward the Sound Guy, absolutely incredible content and an even better dude. Edward, you are a legend. Thank you for everything you do. The audio community is better because you are a part of it. We do not deserve you. You are too good for us. Thank you, Edward. I love you. The last one has nothing to do with audio. This is a morbid curiosity of mine. I'm not going to edit. I like finance. I like personal finance. I like budgeting. I am a psychopath. American Psycho was about me because I love Excel. The channel is Caleb Hammer. He does audits of people's finances. I know. Just stay in your seats. I know you're all jumping up in excitement. Budgeting, auditing finances. Does it get any better? He brings people onto his show who need help, who are in bad financial situations, and he audits a month or two of their expenses, goes through all their debts, goes through their spending habits. Then at the end, he helps them develop a budget that should work for them, that will help them get out of debt, and hopefully get to a place where they're able to be more fiscally responsible and hopefully eventually retire and have some kind of savings so they don't live with this burden just hanging over them, this constant minimum monthly payment, and oh my God, I'm going to have to work till the day I die. So on one hand, it is totally a morbid curiosity, and he blew up because he is such a character. When he sees people making poor financial decisions, he will yell at them. He gets very animated, and it's enjoyable to watch. It's entertaining. I do want to include a disclaimer because I fell trapped to this. It is very easy to fall into this habit of judging people, saying, oh gosh, I can't believe anybody would make that decision. How could somebody think that was a good idea? But then I remember saying, there but for the grace of God go I. That could be me. I am not smarter than anybody. I am not better than anybody. The only reason that isn't me is the grace of God, so I need to cool my jets and not judge a single person. I don't know what their entire story is. All I can say is I hope they learn from their mistakes, and I hope they get into a better financial position. It's not purely morbid curiosity. It also functions as a really great reminder. Okay, this is a mistake a lot of people make. Don't do that. Or, hey, I found myself falling into this habit again. Maybe I shouldn't do that either. I need to have this constant reminder to behave when it comes to finances. I highly recommend it. It may be a bit much for some people, though, because he is so aggressive, but it really is interesting information, and I think deep down he does actually want to help people. So if you can get over the yelling and screaming and berating, which can be fun sometimes, it is absolutely worth a watch. Those are my favorite YouTubers of 2023. Now we are on to podcasts. The fifth one, I have 5. Doug Loves Movies. This is a podcast that I listened to. One of the first podcasts I listened to back in 2010 or 11, I loved it. And then during the pandemic, Doug stopped caring about the production quality, and he would just record on his phone microphone. I couldn't abide it, so I unsubscribed. But I wanted some podcast comfort food, and I went back and I started listening again. Some of the maybe I'm getting soft in my old age, but some of the production when he does remote episodes still kind of stinky, but I overlook it because it is that comfort food for me. He essentially does a movie trivia game show, and he's high all the time. So if you find stoner comedy funny, you'll like him. If you just love movies, you'll like it. If you like trivia, like me, you're going to love it, especially if you also like movies. It's a win-win-win. So that is my number 5. Number 2 is number 4. It doesn't go 5-2. Number 4 is another one of the longest listened to podcasts by me. It should be a grammar show because that was not a proper sentence. The Paranormal Podcast. I almost put Jim Harold's Campfire here, but I slightly prefer the Paranormal Podcast. He interviews people who are experts in the paranormal fields. My favorite episode that he has done this year is very recent. I think it was the history of Krampus. Or maybe that was actually on Jim Harold's Campfire. He had an interview with somebody in the second half of one of his episodes. It was so good because Krampus is one of my favorite Christmas movies. That's one I watch every single year as well. And I didn't know the actual history of Krampus. If I can find it, I will link it in the episode notes. This time of year, it's Christmas Eve when this is coming out. Listen to it on Christmas Day. That's my present to you. Oh man, I just got chills thinking about that. That's a great way to spend Christmas. Heck yeah. Number 3. I can't screw up that number in this. No Agenda. It is a political coverage show, or maybe I shouldn't say that. It is a news deconstruction show. People think they lean one way, but they really don't. They just pull clips from the media and point out, here is how they are incorrect. You don't have to agree with everything they say, but it can help you a lot. It helped me stay sane during crazy times. And because of that, I am forever grateful for that show, because had it not been for that, had it not been for them deconstructing the news and pointing out, hey, maybe their focus is keeping you scared so you watch more, they show you more ads, they make more money. Maybe that's the real motivation for the news coverage. Once I realized that, once I learned it from the show, I calmed down a lot and became much happier. Mixed with my appreciation of Spicoli. All I need are some tasty waves, a cool buzz, and I'm good, man. Minus the buzz, because as I point out every situation I can, I don't do any of that. I will drink a cup of coffee and then a decaf at night. Number 2 is planetrage.show. That's a URL, www.planetrage.show. This is another political show. I would say this is more political than No Agenda, and they do actually lean in a certain direction. So if you don't lean in that direction, chances are you'll hate it. But I find it very cathartic hearing them scream about how stupid everything is. How stupid the coverage is. How stupid some of these political commentators are. It is just, it's a good release. Because it's nothing I would ever do. I was taught growing up, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. They didn't get that lesson. And because they didn't get that lesson, we benefit. And the number 1 for me, I bet they'll love that. Number 1 for me is the Grey NATO. This is the one watch. Well, I guess I also listen to Scottish watches, but this is the one that I started listening to this year that I enjoy a lot. This has James Stacey, and I can't remember the other guy's name. I am so sorry. It's a watch podcast, but they don't just focus on watches. They also talk about movies they like. They talk about books they enjoy. They talk about gift guides. They do all kinds of coverage that are tangentially related to watches that keeps it interesting, so it's not just dull. Hey, there was another new watch. It's in this new color. Cool. So if you're looking for that, a watch podcast, the Grey NATO, Scottish Watches is always good as well. I remember this, scottishwatches.co.uk. I have podcast URLs burned into my brain. Number 4 is done. Now we are on to my favorite movies of the year. In prior years, I gave myself a challenge. I was going to watch 365 movies in a year. That was miserable. I hated it. I swore I would never do it again. And I still haven't. I didn't watch that many movies this year. So instead, I was thinking, how do I want to discuss movies? I got COVID this year. That was the first time that I was sick in years. It was the first time that I took a sick day from work. And when I took the sick day, I was napping on my couch with a fever of 103 degrees, drinking chicken noodle soup while eating water. Because that's how it works when you have a 103-degree fever. Nothing makes sense anymore. So I wanted to do my perfect homesick movie day. This is what I would do. This is what I did. We're starting off with Ferris Bueller's Day Off for obvious reasons. You all know the story. Ferris Bueller tricks his parents into thinking that he's sick, so he plays hooky, then he goes out, he goes to a baseball game, he drives his friend's Ferrari, I think it is. They sing in a parade, they get into all the trouble, and it is awesome. It is a perfect way to start a sick movie day, even if you are actually sick. You can commemorate, you can relate to Cameron. I know that word. I know the word relate. You can relate to Cameron because that is what I was doing. I'm dying, Ferris. That is how I felt. Number 2 is A Never-Ending Story, another 1980s classic. This is a story where a kid loses his mom, he gets reclusive, and he dives into the world of books. And his dad says, hey, you gotta stop reading so many books. Stop it. You need to be a normal boy. Go out and play games. He doesn't listen. Who does? No, Dad, I'm gonna read this book. And he hides from some bullies in a bookstore and finds a book called A Never-Ending Story. And the bookkeeper says, no, you can't read this. So he steals it. This guy's a little punk. And then he goes and hides in the attic of his school and reads it and goes on a magical adventure. It is so whimsical and magical. I know I just said it's a magical story that he goes into, but it's a very magical film. And if you're looking for that nostalgia and escapism, or if you want the visuals on the screen to kind of mimic the fever dream that you're drifting in and out of, this is a great option. That's probably my favorite movie that I watched this year. Number 3, another 1980s classic, or was it 1990? I don't know. 1987, I think. The Princess Bride. Again, obvious reason. It starts, a kid is homesick, his grandpa comes over, reads him a book called The Princess Bride. It's a perfect at-home sick movie while you're eating your chicken noodle soup and drinking your plasma grenades. What? Number 1, this is just for me, Mallrats. That is my actual comfort food. It is not a great movie, but I think I have seen that movie more than any other film ever. I may get flack for that. It's not my favorite movie. That would be Amadeus. Number 2 would be There Will Be Blood. But Mallrats, that is my pepperoni pizza movie. I can watch it anytime and have a blast. And when I'm sick, I just want something that feels familiar and makes me happy. So there you go. 4 movies, if I could count. Perfect at-home sick movie day with chicken noodle soup, water, and maybe some Gatorade. Let me know in the comments, if you're watching on YouTube, what is your perfect at-home sick, stay home, not play hooky, actual sick movie day, movie marathon, and what snacks are you eating while you're sick? I had to order chicken noodle soup off Amazon. I couldn't walk. I couldn't drive to the grocery store. That's how sick I was. It sucked. COVID can suck a butt. Donnie Darko, what a good movie. I used butt instead of the F word. All right, I just restarted the camera. What is my favorite music of 2023? First on the list is the entire Radiohead discography. I had listened to a handful of albums before. I had listened to Kid A lot. I had listened to the Bends. I had listened to the classics. I had never gone from beginning to end entire Radiohead discography. They're incredible. They are incredible. They are such a great band. And they don't just have 1 or 2 good albums. They are almost all good. I say almost all good because I understand why they hate Pablo Honey. I understand why they don't like their first album because I don't hate their first album, but I find it to be very typical 90s alternative. It's nothing unique, it's nothing special. Had it not been for the song Creep, I think they would have been forgotten unless they came out with their follow-on incredible albums. My favorite album from them, as I reach down and grab it, is Kid A. I have a story about Kid A. In college, I put Kid A on my CD player and had it on repeat for 3 days, I think it was. I was depressed around the time, hence having Kid A on repeat for 3 days straight. But it was loud enough that my neighbor came knocking on day 3, and when I answered, she was so relieved because she had thought that I was no longer on this earth. Thank you for checking and caring, Terry. I love you and I appreciate you. Kid A is the best one, but their entire discography, absolutely incredible. Well worth a listen. Number 2, John Mayer. I never gave John Mayer much of the time of day. Never really cared about him. But I watched him on Hodinky talking watches. This is just how weird marketing is. He was on that show talking about watches. I like watches, so I said, hey, maybe I'll listen to some John Mayer music. He's kind of great. He's a really good guitarist, really great songwriter, and a nice voice. The album that I enjoyed this year is Sabrak. It is his latest album, and the thing that I love about this, because I am a nostalgia fiend, my entire personality is nothing but nostalgia. This album has 80s yacht rock vibes, and I love it. It has really nice production quality. The songwriting is still great. The melodies are great. The guitar playing, he has some really great riffs in here, really great solos. I still think as far as guitar playing, my favorite is Continuum. But this has some really great songs like Last Train Home, New Light, Wild Blue. I think those are all the actual singles on it. Way to go for the deep cuts, Bandrew. They're singles for a reason. They're really well done. So if you haven't given John Mayer a shot before, give him a shot. Give it a listen. If you're a guitar player, you may find yourself actually saying, oh, wow, that's actually pretty tight. Good for him. Number 3, although this is number 2, because I should have said 4-3. This is number 2. I have a physical copy. Blink-182, One More Time. Blink-182 is likely the most important band in my entire life. Yes, my first punk album was Dookie by Green Day, but the first one that really hit for me was Dude Ranch by Blink. And that just opened up a whole new world for me. It was the liner notes in maybe Cheshire Cat by Blink, where I read the name Descendants, and I said, who are Descendants? And I went and bought Everything Sucks by Descendants, and Descendants, Everything Sucks is, I'm going to say, the best punk album ever made. Best punk album ever made. I know people are going to say, no Black Flag, what? No Minor Threat? You suck, Bandrew, you're an idiot. Okay, one of the best pop punk albums. Don't kill me. But One More Time, it seems as though they picked up where they left off right after Enema. And Enema is their best album. It is a perfect pop punk album. This picks up right after that. There are some incredible songs. There are some very moving songs. I found myself getting a little bit emotional while I was listening to this going for a walk, because it just transported me back to this place where stuff was so much simpler, and hearing them back together again, it was like seeing a really nice movie. It was like seeing a couple of friends who haven't seen each other for a decade just get back together, and they pick up right where they left off. It was so incredible. So if you're a Blink-182 fan, absolutely check that out. If I had to rank them, Number 1 is obviously Enema. I think number 2 would be Dude Ranch. Number 3 would probably be One More Time, followed by Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. It's a very close 3 and 4. I could switch those, but that's how I would rank it. It is really a great album, and I am thrilled they got back together to do that because I enjoy the heck out of it, and it seems like they're having a lot of fun. Alrighty, we are recording. Excellent. This little voice in the back of my head said, "Hey, you forgot to hit record, idiot. Your audio's not recording. Double check." I'm recording. It's all good. Must have been a demon trying to distract me. And surprise, surprise, it worked. Good job, demon. Get out of here. My number 1 favorite music of the year is an artist that I found on Instagram, which is something I never thought I would say because I don't like Instagram. It is an artist called The Sunglasses Kid. Not a big fan of the name, but I don't care. The music is phenomenal. If you like 80s synthwave, because this is 80s synthwave to perfection. I don't think I can describe his music any other way than by saying, imagine yourself driving down a beachside highway in Miami in a convertible with the top down, speeding along as neon lights fly by you. That's his music. It is just perfect. So if you are like me, where you have no other personality traits other than, I like the 1980s, I am an idiot, which is me, then you are going to love it. Or if you just like good music, you're going to love it. Because it is also just good music. Very well produced music. But it also plays on the nostalgia. So if you are just a complete and utter chud like me, I need flesh. I need nostalgia. It does that perfectly. The Sunglasses Kid. He's going to be releasing an album in 2024 where he compiles all of his POV series. And that is where he would make a video playing a song and text on screen would say, POV, you just defeated the local mafia boss and you're on your way home to love with your secret lover. I don't think that was one, but stuff like that. And those are some of his best pieces because he seems to really be able to capture a moment, to be able to capture a feeling or an event via the music. Or maybe I'm just thinking he's able to do it because he's implying it with the words on the screen. If those words weren't there, maybe I wouldn't think that. But it is 100% worth a watch. I'm going to stop talking because I'm bad at talking about this. I'm just bad at talking. Done with that card. Now we have my favorite television of 2023. Number 3 is Red Dwarf. The first couple of seasons. This is a low-budget British sci-fi comedy show from the 80s. I love the 80s. And it's about a guy who is on a mining ship. He breaks the rules and he gets put into stasis until they get back to port so he can be arrested. But while he's in stasis, there was a leak in the nuclear reactor and everybody's dead, Dave. Everybody's dead. I actually enjoyed the first few seasons of this show so much that I made a podcast intro based on the introduction to these shows. I'll include that right here so you can see that and hear that. This is an SOS from the podcast BSP. The host has lost his mind after 6 years of incoherent rambling. Addition, he will be discussing 60-second unskippable YouTube ads, the issue with buying counterfeit technology, and a whole lot more, so go ahead and stick around. But if you like cheesy British sci-fi comedies, then this is absolutely worth a watch. The other main characters are his roommate, who loves authority. He's kind of like a Dwight Schrute character, decades before Dwight Schrute. And then a cat. Yeah, he was in stasis so long that cats evolved into humans. Yep. Kind of a big plot hole. If cats evolved for millions of years, yes, they would, of course, evolve into humans, just with big incisors. Don't question it. Number 2 is Battlestar Galactica, a show that I have loved for over a decade. A show that I have not watched all the way through for over a decade. It was a journey because I have a bad brain, my memory stinks, and I forgot a lot of the stuff that happened. I forgot who the final 5 were. So I was on that journey again. I have to say the first viewing is still the best. There was a sketch about it on Portlandia, and this is around the time that binge watching was just becoming a thing. And in this sketch, they watched an episode. The theme music would play. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? They play the next episode, and then a week later, they're just disheveled. They lost their jobs. They're maybe homeless. I don't remember how it ends. That is how I felt first time watching it. My mind was broken. What is happening? How can it... What's next? This time, I didn't have that same experience. Maybe I'm just more critical now. They kind of lost the plot at points, but it is still a really great series. The first season, I think, is the best. The first half of the first season, starting from the actual miniseries, is just, as Josh C. Liston would say, 33 minutes is the first actual episode. That is one of the best episodes of television ever made. I would say the first half of the first season is up there. Some of the best television ever made. It is an incredible, very gritty, dark sci-fi show. How long have I been talking about it and I didn't even mention what it's about? Humans make androids. Androids disappear for decades, come back, annihilate humans. Only 50,000 humans remain. They run from the Cylons, which is what they are called. The androids are called Cylons. I can't remember what it means. Cybernetic life form, something like that. They run from the Cylons. Cylons chase them, and for 4 seasons, the Cylons try to eradicate the remainder of the humans. It is tense. It is tense, tense, tense. If you have high blood pressure and cannot handle stress, do not watch it. That is my disclaimer. That is number 2. And number 1 for me, do I actually have the DVD? I don't have the full box set, but I have one of the seasons. Warehouse 13, another show from the Sci-Fi Network in the 2000s. I really think the 2000s were the golden era for TV. On Discovery Channel, you have 2 of my favorite shows, Dirty Jobs and Mythbusters, and heck, you also got How It's Made. And on the Sci-Fi Channel, you had Battlestar Galactica, you had Warehouse 13, you had Eureka. That's an incredible lineup. That's an incredible decade. Not too shabby. If you don't know what Warehouse 13 is, conspiracy theories say it is a warehouse where they keep UFOs and alien technology. That's beside the point, because in this show, it is a warehouse where they keep UFOs and alien technology and all sorts of artifacts that are magical, that wreak havoc on the world. We have a couple of main agents who go out and about, find these artifacts, discover the historical relevance of them, and try to stop cars from revving their engines so loud outside because, can't you tell, in the winter wonderland that I'm in, there are still people who rev their engines. Kinda inconsiderate. I completely lost my train of thought because that very loud snowmobile distracted me. Agents, they go out into the world, find magical artifacts, find out the historical relevance, try to resolve issues. It's kind of like an American Doctor Who, where our character is not an alien or a magical being. They're just a couple of dorks. And they are so lovable. The thing that I loved about Warehouse 13 is, yes, all the episodes, they're fun. You get all these nice historical references. That's good and great and grand. It's the fact that it doesn't take itself too seriously. They have characters that can be goofy, but they develop them so well that you end up loving them. And then when the writers decide, okay, we're going to throw a wrench in the gears and make you actually feel something, it hits way too hard. I'm not supposed to feel things when I'm watching a silly show on the Sci-Fi Network, but this show made me feel things, and I don't appreciate it. But at the same time, I really do, because it was nice to feel something for once in my entire miserable life. I'm actually a happy guy. I'm just goofing and gaffing. But Warehouse 13, if you're looking for a lighthearted, mostly, sometimes misery-inducing television show with a lot of fun concepts, you get to meet H.G. Wells, it's well worth a watch. Rent a few episodes and see what you think. They even have, this is just a cherry on top. There are 2 Christmas episodes. I watched them a month ago. I don't think I have felt as Christmassy as I did the nights that I watched those. They are incredible episodes. Maybe I'll watch them. I don't have time. I have to finish Black Christmas. It's taken me 3 days to get through it. I'm not going to be able to. But that is my number 1 favorite TV show of the year. That is it for card 7. Card 8 says super thanks, so let me throw that card. I'm going to move away from the microphone. I'm going to grab my phone. I'm going to scroll down. Let's see if it actually... I'm working offline, so I don't have the information. All right, I've got everything working. I have my notes synced so I can see the super thanks that came through. If you don't know, this is a value for value show. That means I don't have ads on it. It means I don't put anything behind a paywall. I simply put as much value as I can into the episodes, hopefully. And if you find value in it, you return that value to me in whatever form you think is appropriate. Number 1 comes from Sad Luigi 98, $1.99. He says, "Are we getting another By the Fire podcast before the year ends? I loved the last one." Sad Luigi, thank you very much for the $2 and the request. I apologize that this entire episode was not a By the Fireside chat with Bandrew, but ask and ye shall kind of receive. Now I am officially a freebooting, stealing scumbag who is robbing content video audio from sound speeds. This is his Yule log. I don't remember what year, but this is the Electro Voice Hammer, I believe. I'll put a link into the episode notes in case you want to watch an hour of Alan cooking a microphone in his fireplace. Saying that out loud makes him sound like a psychopath. Yeah, I guess story checks out. Next we have from Greg LG, $13.99 Canadian. Merry Christmas. Greg, thank you very much for the 14 Canadian dollars. Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you so much for all the support, all the kind words over the year. You are so kind and generous, and I appreciate you so, so much. Lastly, we have €100 from TechMed Rainer Richter. Danke, dear Bandrew, thank you for a remarkable year of serious and entertaining audio content. I wish you a Merry, Merry Christmas. Well, Rainer, thank you very much for the €100 and Merry, Merry, extra, double, triple Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you so much for that, but more importantly, thank you for the support, the kind words, the engagement over the last year. It really does mean the world to me, and it keeps me motivated and keeps me going. On top of that, your generosity mixed with the generosity of all the other super chatters, super thankers, led me to the point where I said, heck it, let's go ahead and go full value for value and make this show ad-free. So without your support over the last year, you would all still be suffering through advertisements in this thing. So thank you so much, Rainer. It really does mean the world to me. We are going to wrap up there. I don't have any what you had to says or ask Bandrews because I'm recording this a couple days early so I can go on vacation. Don't tell anybody, but I will be back by the time this episode goes live. So don't you dare get any funny business going, wet bandits. Steer clear. I'm sitting inside the door waiting for you. Got a torch on the handle. Got micro machines all over the place. I will make your life hell. Don't even think about it. I don't like having a phone in my breast pocket. That is it for this week's episode. I am going to take next week off, but I will be back in 2024 analyzing and reviewing 2023 as a whole, as I do every single year. Thank you so much for an amazing 2023, for sticking with me, for watching and listening and engaging, asking questions, and just being generally awesome. Thank you so much. I wouldn't still be doing this if it wasn't for you. You are incredible. So thank you. If you celebrate Christmas, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. If you don't, have an amazing 25th of December. I know everybody does celebrate New Year's, though, so I hope you have a great New Year's, although I know there are some Grinches out there who say, New Year's, don't celebrate it, that's stupid. Let us have something, you negative Nancys. Okay? Happy New Year. Be safe. I love you. I will talk to you next year. Bye-bye. Whoa. Whoa.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.